Hello friends, in this video lecture I start the unit number 3. Okay, so in the last video lecture we completed the unit number 2 of the ETC subject. In the unit number 2 you learn about the how to write the business letter, how to write the resume writing for the fresher candidate and for the experienced candidate, and then after in the unit number 3 you will learn about the new things regarding the technical communication. So let's start it. First of all, what are the contents are considered in the unit number 3. So here there are the content of unit number 3 are: first, there are the public speaking, group discussion, presentation strategies, interview skill, negotiation skill, then the critical and creative thinking in the communication. So there are mainly 6 topics are covering in the unit number 3. So you will learn about these overall 6 topics in the unit number 3. About this video lecture, there are the first topic is considering in this video lecture. First topic is the public speaking. What is the simple meaning of public speaking? When you speak in the front of the number of audience, it's called the public speaking. Take the example whenever you speak in the front of the audience. Take the example as a student, when you speak or when you given a speech in the auditorium hall, in the front of your overall classmates and the teachers, it's called the public speaking. In the organization there are the various type of meetings are considering. Take the example like AGMs, annual general meetings, then after the term meetings. So at that time, as a manager, as a candidate, as an employee, they have to be a speak in the front of the audience. So here you will learn about how to write or how to speak in the public speaking. So here first of all, the meaning of the public speaking. In the image you can see that a person who speak in the front of the audience. Whenever your audience in the large number, it's called the public speaking. So here are the meaning of the public speaking. Public speaking is used to address a large number of people to inform or create the awareness, pursueness, or provide the solution. Take the example whenever you also see there are the various CEOs, and there are the number of peoples who are speaking in the front of public. Take the example of the Mukesh Bhai Ambani, that AGM of the Reliance, he speak on the front of the number of audience, so it's called the public speaking. There are the example of it. Then take the simplest example, that sometimes you have to perform the front of audience in the auditorium hall in your college, so it's called the public speaking. Okay, sometimes in the farewell parties you have to also speak in the front of your classmates, your teachers, your professors, so it's called the public speaking. Where there are the large number of group in the audience group, at that time you have to speak in the front of them, is called the public speaking. So it's very important, it's a very important skill. Whenever you speak in the front of public, it's a very important, because sometimes in the AGM, in the organization, CEO take the very crucial decisions and very important decisions, and they have to also announce some new strategies, some new policies. At that time public speaking is very important skill. Then after, the content, what and how to present to organizing to content. Whenever you speak in the front of the public, in the public speaking, at that time how you analyze, how you organize your content. So here there are the topics and there are the methods of the content organizing. First of all, chronological method. In this method you have to prepare your overall detail in the chronological way, means in the systematical way. First of all you have to introduce yourself, then after your company, and then after you have to announce the whatever the new decision you have to take in your company. Then after, the categorical method. Sometimes in the public speaking the speaker make the categorical method. they have to provide the information according to the category. Like take the example in the annual general meeting, if they have to announce a new policy, at that time they have to divide the category. First of all, they have to given the information, first of all introductory category, then after given the information category. So there are the various categories, they have to bifurcate or they have to divide their speaking. Then after casual method, so in this casual method they can easily analyze the overall method. In this method they can not organize the overall strategies, they can casually speak whatever they have to given the information to the public. Then after spatial method, in this spatial method they have to be given the overall information into this part, okay, in the different part, the part they have to divide, and then after given the information to the public. Then after there are the delivery of speech, there are the mainly four methods for the delivery of the speech in the public speaking. First is the memorization, then second one is the manuscript, then third one is the impromptu, and fourth and the last one is a keeping notes. So there are the mainly for delivery speech, how whenever you speak in the audience, in the front of audience, at that time there are the mainly four method for the delivering of your speech to the audience. So in the next slide I discuss about these four in details and what are the advantage and disadvantages of these speeches. So first of all is the memorization. Okay, so here from the image you can take that idea that the whenever any person can give the speech from the memory, means they have to get the memorize the overall information and then after given the speech to the public, it's called the simply manner, there are the memorization. Okay, so here is the main definition of the memorization, that write down your speech and read it the several times and memorize it, then speak in the front of the audience from your memory is called the memorization. Sometimes some people do this type of activities, they have to write the speech and read out and memorize, and then after they given the speech from the public, okay, to the public. So in the memorization they cannot have any script, they cannot have any notes with them, they can memorize and then after they given the information to the public. So what are the advantages of this memorization speech method? First of all, as you have the memorization, you will not leave out any point, because you have to memorize at that time, you cannot leave the any point. So there are the advantage of this method. Then second one, there is a very high scope of the eye contact and the gesture, because if you get the notes and if you get the script whenever you speak in the front of the audience, so at that time your eye contact not possible. But if you have the memorization on your speech, so at that time the eye contact with your public is possible and it's create the impact on your audience. Then after, if you have memorized it well, you also look very natural, because you have to memorize it, so the live session and the active session will be created, because the memorization of the speech at that time, you cannot have the any content, you cannot have the any speech notes, so you can context freely with your audience and it's create the live impact on your audience. Then after, what are the disadvantages of the memorization method? So here there are the disadvantages of the memorization method. First one, when you speak something from your memory, there is a high risk for the forgetting a point and suddenly, and you will have to try very hard to remember it or sometimes skip the point and go the next one. So it's a very important because sometimes you have to memorize and you cannot recall it, so at that time the main point maybe you miss, maybe you skip or maybe you miss to give the information to public. So there are the disadvantage of the memorization method. Then second one is some people who are not very good and the memorizing and maybe a fumble and a lot of it will be take away the natural effect. Sometimes some people have the not such type of memorization skill. So at that time the fumbleness created in their speaking. So it's create the negative impact on the public. Then after there is a no flexibility example. If a person from the audience asks a question in between, you may forget whatever you left and become difficult to continue fluently. Okay, sometimes some person have a ask in question from a audience. At that time, you have to memorize it your speech and you have to forget it. So it's create the negative impact, and there are the main disadvantage of this memorization method. Then after the second method is the manuscript method. In this method you can see the image. I consider the overall images so you can easily understand this. So here you can see the person given the speech from the script, so it's called the manuscript. Okay, whenever person given their speech at that time take a script with them and given the information and given the overall idea to the public, it's called the manuscript delivery method. Okay, so here at the meaning of the manuscript method, write your complete speech and carry it with you and read out word to word from the script. So it's called the manuscript delivery method. Okay, so what are the advantages of this method? So first advantage of this method is, as you are going to read out everything, you will not miss out any point. So it's the main advantage which cannot consider in the memorization method, because in this method you can consider the script. So at that time you cannot forget or you cannot miss any main important topic. Then second one, this method is appropriate for the people who are very good readers and can add the paralinguistic while reading. So it's a very impactful for the person who have the very good anchor skill and very good we can say the reading skill. So it's create a good impact on them. Then after the third advantage is the speech will be perfect and there won't be any fumbling, because you have the oral idea and you have the script, so you cannot fumbling and you have the oral points with you. So in the public speaking it's create the impact on the public. Then after the flexibility is there, as you can always start from the point where you left even if you are interrupted. If any audience asks you any question, so you cannot forget your point, you can start the new point wherever you left your last point. So it's a advantage for this manuscript method. Then while using this method you are more confident, and as you don't have any fear for forgetting because you have the script with you, so it's you have not any fear regarding the forgetting the main point. Okay, then what are the disadvantages of this method? Because there are the coin have a two sides, so always there are the both impact of this method, advantage and disadvantage. Then the disadvantage of this method are, if you are not a good reader, the entire speech will be very monotonous and the unnatural, because when you read from the script point by point, at that time some audience can bore. Okay, so it's create a negative impact on your audience. Then second one, it sometimes become a very boring for the audience when a person just read out from the paper. So it's also create the negative impact. Then third one, the audience may not trust on what you are saying, as it may not look like your original thought, because you have to read from script. At that time you cannot see or you cannot visualize that this is the original idea. Okay, then after the scope of the eye contact and gesture ID is minimum, because you have to read out from the script. At that time your eye contact with your audience will be minimum. Okay, so it's create the negative impact and it's create the boringness from the audience mind. Then after the third one, it's the impromptu So first of all, what are the meaning of the impromptu? In the simple language, I can say that the on the time. Okay, on the time you if take the example, if you attend the any program, if you attend the any ceremonies, and at that time given the we can say on the time you have the given the opportunity to speak from the audience, front of the audience. Okay, so it's called the impromptu delivery speech. Okay, so sometimes you may have the deliver the speech without any presentation, without any preparation. For example, when you are asked to give the speech on the farewell of your colleagues, you have to speak on the spot. This called the impromptu. Okay, so it's called the impromptu means on the time. Okay, you cannot have any time for the preparation of the script and preparation of your presentation. Without preparation on the time when you speak is called the impromptu delivery speech. Then after, here there are the image that the person get the impromptu on the time they given the mic and you have to speak it. Okay, so what are the advantages of this speech? First of all, it is highly natural and organized as you are speaking what you think. So here you cannot have any time for the preparation. So here your speech is highly natural and organize whatever you think in your mind. Okay, then second one, the scope of the eye contact and gesture is maximum because you cannot have any script, you cannot have any notes. Okay, then after, third one, there is a lot of flexibility as it can be interactive as a possible because the flexibility is here because you cannot have any time for the preparation. So at that time the flexibility of the speech is very high. Then after, more paralinguistics can be used because whenever you given the speech on the time, it's good impact and you can use your own quotes, your own sentences, your own ideas. Okay, then after, what are the disadvantages of this impromptu speech delivery speech method? So, first of all, biggest disadvantage is that if your knowledge about the topic is not sufficient, you will be fumble. Okay, whenever you have not any idea regarding the overall ceremony or the topic, at that time you will be fumble. Then after, second one, sometimes you may have to give a long pause to think what you speak, which may be leave the audience irritate. Okay, sometimes you have to take the time for the what for the thinking to what to tell the audience. At that time, this the time of the thinking it's create the irritating to the public. Then after, there is a no editing time and so there are the arrangement of the idea maybe happens and losing out the continuity in the thought. Sometimes you have to thought the different thing and then after you have to different thought. So at that time the organizing of your thought is not possible in this delivery speech method. Then after, the last one, there are the notes. Whenever you speak with your notes, with your points, it's called the notes delivery speech method. So here there are the overall meaning of this notes method. So taking the note with you while you delivering a speech is the most popular method. Here you have to question about that what are the difference between the note method and manuscript method. In the manuscript method you have to write the overall script point to point. Okay, and in the note method you cannot write your oral speech point to point, but you have to write the main points for your whatever you speak from the public. Okay, so here note method is different from the manuscript method. In the manuscript method you have to write the overall your speech in the point to point form. Okay, in the notes method you have to take the note but you have to write the important topic whatever you try to say to the public. Okay, so there are the main difference between them. Then this method is used the advantages of the memorization and the manuscript method. So here you can memorize and you have to the manuscript method. So there are the we can say there are the both methods advantages are considered in this notes method. Here you also have the idea about the memorization method. You can memorize the some topics in your speech and you also take some points with you. So there are the both method are considering in this method. So here there are the advantage of this method. It is also allowed the impromptu thoughts to be included. So in this method you take a note along which has only main points. Whatever I already discussed to you, that in this method you only consider the main points, okay, to be covered and they written in the sequence. So this method is very important, and there are the less disadvantage of this method. So in this method there are the only advantages are considering. So what are the advantage of this notes method? First of all, you have to prepare the whole speech and the several times. While the delivering the speech, you speak without the seeing the note. But if you have a required, you just the glance on it and notes and check the sequence of the point, and you are supposed to speak a particular point, because there are the main advantage of this. You have to speak from your memory, and if you have the some forgetting point, then you can take the view of your points. So it's a very important method. Then what are the advantages of this method? So here are the advantage of this method, not method. So first of all, there are the no chance for the forgetting any point, as you have the not in the sequence. So there are the main advantage of this method. Then second one, it gives the more flexibility and can be interactive, because you cannot read from the script, you give the speech from the memory and you also take the note with you. So it's create a good impact and the more flexibility and the interactive session. Then third one, scope of eye contact and the gesture is more possible in this method. Then the third one, it looks unnatural and interesting because you have to interact with your audience. Then there are the no disadvantage of this method, because it is very useful and well prepared method. So there are the no disadvantages of this method. But if you haven't done enough preparation, then this method will be fail for making your speech effective. If you have the well preparation and you have the sequence wise note, then this method is very important. So here we are discuss about the overall topics, okay, regarding your public speech and what are the delivery speech method. I hope that you will learn about it, you will understand about it, and if you have any query you can contact me. Thank you so much.